All right, welcome everyone to Livestream Stars. I hope everybody's having a great Monday. This is the debut edition of Livestream Stars presented by LivestreamUniverse.com. I'm Ross Brand, and every Monday we're going to be showcasing talented broadcasters who are delivering high-quality content across Livestream platforms. And I'm so honored that our first guest today is Jennifer Quinn, host of the Daily Q Show, TDQ Show, hashtag TDQ Show, right?
Yes, that's the hashtag, TDQ Show. That's right.
So before I roll into your bio, a question I've wanted to ask you for a while is, how do you decide which color microphone windscreen to use? I only have one and it's black, and I was wondering how you did that.
So, my vision was to have one to match my outfits, but I don't have enough colors for that yet. Give me time.
How many do you have so far?
I only have 5.
Oh, okay.
And one of them is black.
Oh, so you've got the standard and then you've got the variety.
Right.
They come in like a variety pack, or do you have to buy each one separately?
Yeah. No, variety.
So for those that don't know, Jennifer hosts a show daily on Blab, 3:15 every day.
Yeah, I'm doing the time zone thing.
Eastern,
yes.
Mm-hmm. So 3:15 Eastern every day, Monday through Friday. Are you taking this week off for the holidays? Or?
It is definitely a modified schedule. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're also the owner of youbeing.social.com, and you do consulting and help people with training and social media management, and also have a very popular Twitter account. You have around 20,000 followers at Jenny Q. So check her out on Twitter. And I guess my first question is, I was looking at your website, and you could make a great case for why somebody should get into what now I think of as traditional social media: Facebook, right, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, the sites that we've known for quite a while. Why should somebody get into live streaming, and why did you choose to go so heavily into Blab?
That is a very good question. I ask myself almost daily. No. Why did I do? No. So the story for live streaming with Periscope, for me, it started, I first heard about it really right after it came out. And at the time, I only had a Droid. So it wasn't really applicable to me. I didn't have access to it. I thought, oh, something else that's going to come and go. It didn't really mean much to me. When it came out on Droid, someone showed it to me again, Periscope. I said, you really should take a look at this. So I downloaded the app, and I kind of, was not necessarily I guess intrigued, but more just like curious. So I started poking around, and it wasn't until I was on Josh Greenbaum's scope. And if you know Josh Greenbaum, or if you don't, he's 26 years old. He lives in New York, and he just talks to people. And he had a ton of people, on his scope commenting and sharing, and he responded to every single comment. And then something kind of clicked for me, because I saw him make true connections with people, and it reminded me of the beginning days of Twitter. My beginning days of Twitter, when I started out, and what fascinated me about Twitter is the same thing that fascinated me about Periscope. And it was, people are making real connections here. And I wanted to know more about it. I wanted to know more about the psychology behind it. I wanted to know what was going on. And so that's how I got interested in live streaming. And then I was probably pretty annoying to everybody who knew me, because I was like, you've got to check out Periscope. I'd pull the phone. I'm like, here, come on, look, let's do it. And we'd get on, right? And so then I started to see the value for brands and for businesses and for, entrepreneurs to use it as well. And then at some point, Joanne Pham she's the founder of the Perry Girls, and she had her Periscope going, and she was doing, she was showing Blab. And I'm like, what is this? Something else new. So the next night I got on Blab with her. The night after that, I invited Vincenzo Landino, Josh Greenbaum, and Sal Jonas Martinez to join me on a Blab. And then 6 days later, I started the Daily Q Show. I didn't give it a lot of thought, but it was just something that happened for me that went, I get this platform. I get what we're doing here and I want to interview people. And it was just that simple of a decision for me.
Right. It was amazing that like I spent about wow, I'm hearing kind of an echo. Are you?
I am not.
Oh, okay. Then that's my issue. I spent about 2 or 3 days. I really didn't know anything about live streaming, and I just started watching blabs like left and right. I watched a little bit of Periscope, and I just felt like, okay, this is where things are going. This is like far more social than any other social network. And so I started the Livestream universe at Livestream Uni Twitter account, right? And within 8 days, I had 500 people following me. And all I was doing was like tweeting out when people were hosting shows and other news related to Livestream universe. And it's been kind of slow growing since then. I think probably we're like maybe 700 to 800 followers now, and it's probably been like another month since then. So that tells me that there's like a core group that's very passionate about live streaming, and it hasn't yet caught on with the larger social media crowd. But the group that does it, I mean, there's so many people doing really high quality content. And I just want, like, who are some of your favorites that you've had on as guests so far?
Oh, it would be impossible to name favorites because every single interview that I do, and as trite as this sounds, I swear it's the truth. After every single interview, I feel inspired to go be a better person or to go do better in the world. Everybody has their gift and everybody has their passion. And I get to have the true honor of sitting in the space with them to talk about their passion, and what's not inspiring about that. So I can't really say a favorite. I can say, I don't know. I don't want to name favorites. Can you reword the question so that I'm not saying a favorite?
Who have been some of your most interesting interviews?
So, okay, again, they're all interesting, but I'll start talking about some of the interviews. So I had Judge Alex on from Judge Alex TV. And, I, first of all, was really honored that he agreed to be on my show. And I felt like he was so real and so authentic. And he has established so much in his life. He came from Cuba and really created, a life that anyone would love to live. And he did it all through hard work. So that was very inspiring. One of my people that I've always looked up to in social media is Brian Kramer. And he came on my show and I totally did fangirling. And I was so embarrassed, but I'm like, can I just get the fangirling out of the way so we can get on with the interview? Because, and he was just as gracious as you would, picture him being. I've had Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. on, and his father wrote the book, The Four Agreements. And then Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. wrote The 5 Levels of Attachment and some other books.
Wow.
And he's actually been on twice, one for an interview. And then just last week, he came on to do a book discussion for his book, The 5 Levels of Attachment.
That's great.
And so, with guests like that, how can it not be amazing?
Right. Did you have a background in did you ever do broadcasting before? Had you been on camera or on radio or anything? I mean, you're like a natural at this. So I was kind of wondering whether this was new or whether it was something you had done before.
Thank you for that compliment. And no, I've never done anything like this before. The closest that I've gotten is in junior high and high school. I was in theater.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we have some great questions Michael Whitson and some other people, and I'm going to get to them in just a second. But I guess before I do that, I wanted to ask you, what made you decide to go all in, like doing a daily show? Because a lot of people start, like I'm starting this show, although the theme of it kind of more fits a weekly show, and I may do some other things. But what made you decide I'm going to do this 5 days a week?
Again, I asked myself that.
You jumped in before you knew what you were doing and how much work it was.
I had no idea the preparation that it was going to take, both on the front end and the back end.
You mean it's not just a half an hour a day? I'm kidding you.
Ross, you know that. I just had no idea the amount of work. I just didn't know. I don't know that it would have changed, though, to be perfectly honest. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, but it was more just excitement. It was more just excitement that made me decide to.
So Michael asks a great question. How do you come up with questions that you ask your interviewees?
So I think, so there's a couple things that I do. One is I'm just naturally inquisitive. So if I meet anybody anywhere, I'm going to be asking them a bunch of questions just because I'm curious. So a lot of it's that, but also I think about what the viewers might want to know. You know, if I have a specific topic that we're covering, then, and I'll use an example. I'll use Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. So he wrote the book, The 5 Levels of Attachment. And so I'm thinking, if I had read the book and now I'm seeing him be interviewed, which questions would I want to have answered? So I kind of go that route. It's kind of like in marketing, when you are doing anything in marketing, you give your customers what they want. So for me, my customers are my viewers. So I try to think, but it's hard to do. And I just try to hit it. I love how Blab has this option for viewers to ask the questions, because there's no way I'm going to be able to cover everything that people are thinking.
I know Michael's making my job so easy here. He's got another great question.
Awesome.
How do you ask people to be on your show? Do you have 3 tactics you could share with us, how you approach people to be interviewed?
So that is a good question. And let me think about it for a moment. Typically, I just ask. There isn't really a tactic. I go, hey, I do this interview show. I'd like to have you on my guest. Do you want to do it? Like, it's that simple. And they're going to know whether or not they're interested in knowing more. I think maybe that might be one thing, is I don't over complicate it. I just say, hey. And then
you find most people would say yes, or do you find that it's a mix?
So I think, for me, my experience has been that most people are interested, and it can often come down to a matter of timing. So are we going to be able to schedule it in?
Right.
Yeah.
And are most of the people you interview familiar with Blab, or do you have to explain and walk them through setting up an account and all that?
Yeah. Well, when I first started, I was interviewing people who were on Blab. So that made it easier, right? Because we were all learning at the same time. But now not so much. They're not really that familiar with it. And so we do a pre-show training of sorts, where we go through all the steps, check the audio, check the video, because I've had too many interviews where I get on there and we can't hear or we can't see the guest. And then I'm, calling Blab for help and,
Right.
Yeah.
So you set a time with everybody that you have as a guest, and you actually do like a mic check, and you check their audio and make sure. I guess you don't have to do that, or you do that with the people who are familiar with Blab too. Like, I'm sure if you had like Vincenzo Landino on, you probably don't need to do an audio check with him, right? Right.
If somebody's on Blab regularly, we probably don't do it. But I have people who are familiar with Blab who we still do it, just because. And sometimes, to be honest, sometimes we're in the middle of the check and my stuff isn't working. So I'm always grateful that we do that ahead of time. And then I'll have to reboot or whatever,
Right. And so how do you see like broadcasters or brands making use of this to monetize either for their business or to promote more than they're doing at this point? And do you think that this is a platform that's really going to take off? And do you see that happening like in the near future, or is that something that we're far from and we're kind of in the infancy right now?
Oh, I think we're really in the infancy. I think
we're still beta.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And so how people can use this, I think that your imagination is the only limit that you have. I'm excited to see what's still coming. I've seen some really cool things happen on Blab. I love the show that Yo Pickles does with Blab's Got Talent.
Right.
Like, that is so cool. And then there's been, Blabathons where people are raising awareness for things like kindness and generosity. And There was an auction on just the other day that I popped in on, and the virtual conferences are amazing. I mean, but really, your imagination is the only limit. And when sometimes people ask me, "Do you think this will work on Blab?" I'm like, "Try it."
Right.
Try it. Try it. You're not going to know until you take it to market. And right now, Blab is the market. So try it.
Have you had any customers come to you and say, I found you on Blab?
No, but Periscope, yes.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Yeah. How often are you on Periscope?
So probably it really depends, because I'm going to say 5 to 7 times a week.
Wow.
As a rough estimate. Yeah. Sometimes more, because I'm on the Perry Girls leadership team. And so we promote the other women. You're talking about broadcasting, right? You're not talking about.
Yeah. Not like how many times do you watch somebody else's scope?
Right. Okay. Because that would be an entirely different answer.
That would be kind of tough to get business off of just, saying hi in the comments.
Yeah.
So what is the difference for you between the two platforms? Obviously, Blab, when you have guests, is a lot of preparation, but how do you use Periscope in comparison to Blab, where you do an interview show and it's really more about your guests?
Just exactly what you just said. It's very different for me. I think I'm actually even different. Like, you see a different side of me on Periscope than on Blab. Well, like when I'm doing my interview, I mean, that's work, right? That's, time to bring it, right? Whereas on Periscope, I use that more to kind of play and be goofy and stuff like that.
Cool.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to call in and has a question for Jenny, we'd love to take it. Let's play a little something called Best and Worst, and you just tell me, whatever comes to mind.
Okay.
Best and worst trends you've noticed in live stream broadcasting. You just have to give one for either, one best.
Okay. So the best trend in live streaming is, for me personally, this is just my opinion, is groups who are coming together to support and encourage each other, like the Body Positivity Tribe, and Perry Girls, for example. Where it's all for, okay, together we can achieve more, and let's support and encourage each other. Was it best and worst? Are we going worst?
Yeah, you could do worst.
So the worst for me clearly is like the sleeping scopes. Like, come on.
That's you now, right? That's what they put on. I mean, I downloaded it, but I've never used it.
I don't know. It's like where they put the camera on themselves while they sleep.
Right. There's an app called You Now, and apparently that's popular on that app.
Okay.
Next time, I think they'll try paint drying. Maybe that'll be the next.
It's about that exciting.
That could be about as exciting as sleeping. What's the best and worst piece of social media advice you've heard given?
This is a fun little game, Ross. You're keeping me on my toes. The best piece of social media advice would be have fun. Seriously. But that's kind of like my best advice for everything. It's like, if you're not having fun, why are we doing it?
What's a piece of advice that people give that makes you scratch your head and go, why is anybody telling people still to do that or to do that? In
social media?
Yeah. And it could be any kind of social. It doesn't have to be live stream.
Yeah. Buying followers, I can't even believe that's still even a thing.
Right. You mean like when you go to somebody's Facebook page and they have like 40,000 followers and nobody's ever liked one of their posts,
for example, hypothetically speaking.
Right. So, I mean, who do they think they're fooling?
Right.
What is the best and worst thing about hosting a show on Blab?
The best and the worst thing about hosting a show on Blab? So the best thing is the people. Like, that's kind of obvious though, right?
Right.
And the worst thing is the glitches that can happen, the technical glitches.
The beta issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no pressure, Ken.
Did anything ever happen to you where you dropped off the air and you had to cut a show short?
My gosh, I can't believe. Yeah.
Sorry, maybe I shouldn't have asked that.
No, because this was so, and It would have been bad if it was anybody that I was interviewing, but it just so happened to be Joel Comm.
Oh, man.
And so it was already, so I was on vacation and I had like a makeshift studio and I had my laptop up, so I couldn't touch the table because if I did, then it would all go and it looked like I was in an earthquake.
Right.
So that was bad enough, right? But then we're 5 minutes away from wrapping up the interview and my computer completely crashed. So I hopped on my iPhone because I didn't throw this part of the story in. I ended up buying an iPhone just for live streaming. So I hopped on my iPhone, hopped on the Blab app, and because I had locked the seats as the host, this was before they made the change. Because I had locked the seats as the host, I couldn't get back into my own Blab.
Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing so hard, but that is a great story. That is amazing.
It was so much panic. I was like, and then I'm like rebooting my computer. So even with my computer up, I still couldn't get back in. So we called Brittany in. She said, "Oh," and we got on a separate Blab. She's like, "Jen, I think that you have to bring everybody over to a new Blab to wrap this up." So, but then she said, "I'll send the ticket off." So that issue has been fixed, and you're welcome.
First world Blab problems.
Well, for sure. But Christin, can you imagine? I was freaking out, and Joel, he's a pro. He handled it. He was fine. He was gracious. He was, all those wonderful things. But
have the Blab folks reached out to you since you're doing a daily show? Have they been helpful to you in either in something about your show or giving you a little heads up on what's going on behind the scenes, what's coming up?
So they don't call me and ask me what they should do. No, but they have been tremendously supportive, and encouraging and always there with support. So yeah. Definitely. I think they're that way with everybody, though. I don't think that's just because I have a show. I think that's just who they are.
That's awesome. Thanks to everybody for being here. I would love to get a call in before we wrap up. Does anybody want to hop into an open seat? Come on, don't be shy. Don't be shy.
Christin said you're not the first one to do it. First one to do what, Christin?
Oh, here she comes.
Good.
Hey guys.
Hey, hi, Christin. How are you?
Good. I
Robert C. Stern's here.
I can't right now, but I hate it when people say that. So.
Hey, Robert.
Jump in. Hey.
Hi, Robert.
Hey, Jenny. I don't have questions, but I do adore and love the woman you're interviewing.
Oh, wow.
And she knows how much I love her.
Okay.
Thank you.
Robert hosted an awesome show today.
I missed it.
Amazing storyteller, too.
I need to go back.
You want to give everybody the highlights, Robert? It was great discussion.
Oh, we just you put it on the live stream side. I know it was about why don't businesses and companies take live streaming and social media so seriously?
Now, Robert thinks that people should be on every day. You think people should be on, or businesses should be on Blab 7 days a week? Was that to provoke, or are you serious about that?
I didn't say they should host every day. I think they should be somehow involved every day for consistency so that they're in sight. Like Jenny hosts 5 days a week her show, but I see her in and out on Saturday and Sunday, popping in to Blabs and listening and doing that. But she's not hosting a show,
right?
So, but she's still seen.
Yeah.
Right.
Hosting or being on air is not the only way to contribute to the community.
Correct.
And if you want people to come and watch you, then it's kind of nice to get involved in what other people are doing, and show a little love and take an interest in what's out there, because there's a lot of good stuff out there.
I mean, it's like Facebook. You're supposed to post every day, right? You got to post one item a day. It's the same thing.
Right. Christin, how does it change like Twitter chats for you now that you're both doing the Twitter chat, you're monitoring what's going on in the chat box? It's crazy.
It's really interesting, because you'll notice that from a data standpoint, there's less activity going on Twitter during the chat. But the chats that I'm involved with have both been dual delivery from the beginning, with a video piece that used to be on Hangouts. So I would say that, and it's not fair for me to speak for the host, but I would say that we've lost some data on Twitter, but we've gained a lot more interest and a lot more new community members from using Blab. So we're riding the wave. We're enjoying it. Just trying to keep the Twitter side alive because that's part of the original concept, and it has merit. Will be interesting to see how things go over the next few months, I would say. But we love it. The people that I work with on here, we love it. So.
That's great. Has anybody tried Google Plus since they've made the changes? As far as have they made those changes public yet? I know they were changing Hangouts, and they were going to try, I guess, to make it a little bit easier because
Google
unlike
Plus
this,
turned into a Pinterest.
Oh, really?
That's what,
did you say, Robert?
That's what it reminds me of. I don't know about you, Kristen. It reminds me of like a new version of Pinterest.
Well, they've changed the Hangouts, and they've changed the overall. They have the new Google Plus, and I will confess, I'm waiting a little bit before switching over because some of my friends gave me some feedback on it. I mean, I think it's going to be inevitable, but I heard some kind of, from a UI standpoint, some things that my friends didn't like about it. So I'm just kind of waiting for the dust to settle a little bit before I really check it out.
So do you think it's going to be more user friendly than it is now, the Hangouts, where you can set up something like what we have going here, or do you think it'll still be like one person on the screen and then everybody like in a little box and people trying to figure out how to get in? Am I on the Hangout or am I in the Hangout on air?
I think they're trying for something more user friendly and more versatile. I think that's the intent. Whether it turns out that way is going to be a different story. And again, you've got, and not to slam Google, but you've got community like Blab where you've got the developers and the support team in here constantly listening to the feedback. I think that Google will need to do that more if they want to keep pace.
Yeah,
so,
and we're not slamming them. Like I had this discussion with somebody else. They thought I was slamming. Like I understand that G Plus is great. Hangouts are great for one-on-one when you want to do something that's not public. It has its uses, and Google's great at a lot of other things. But Blab, nothing compares to this format for me anyway. I mean, this is like radio. This is like talk radio simulcast. That's basically what it is, and except it's making it available to anybody to have a show and any business or person to put their content out there.
See,
go ahead, Robert.
No, I was just going to say the thing that bothers me the most is that the people that did leave Google Plus and the Hangouts and are kind of over here now, I don't think they're going to be drawn back so fast because the reason a lot of them made the move was there were issues and Google was not doing anything about it. Well, now that Blab came out and made all these amazing ideas and things like that, so they had no choice but to do something or they were going to lose more people. And now what the question is, do I go running back to Google? But in 3-4 years, am I going to be in the same spot that they didn't change anything again and they didn't keep developing it? That's why people left it. A lot of people left because they weren't fixing it and they weren't developing it further. I mean, Blab's been out, 4.5 months? And how many updates do they do? And they've done updates like Jenny could say, I would love if they could do this. If they like that idea, by the time Jenny's done with her Blab, they've already done it.
I've described being in Blab beta is like every morning waking up Christmas morning because you wake up and there's something new. It's like a present that you weren't expecting.
But here's the thing, guys, and I'm not a tech person. I don't claim to know everything, but Blab is not even the first of its concept. It's not the first. The first doesn't always win, though. I think the significant things that are helping Blab along are timing, and also, and above all else, the responsiveness and the hard work of their team, period. Like, I feel like that's the huge differentiator. And they're sincere about it, and they're committed, and they work their asses off. Excuse my French, but it makes a difference.
Even the first thing they said to Brian when Sean came in, he's like, so Brian, what don't you like about it? He wanted to know the negatives right off the bat before he said, what do you think about it? It was, what don't you like about it?
And they encourage people to try to break it. They're like, come on, give us your best shot. I think that's fantastic. So
I have a question for Jenny, actually. I thought of one.
Awesome.
So you have a certain, she's got that face on like she's scared. You have
I'm
You
waiting.
had a certain way, and I missed the past few shows, and I am very sorry about that. But you always ended the show a certain way with this handful of paper. And I was wondering, are we still doing that? And are you using the same sheet?
We've graduated to my pen case. And I was like, I don't have to just keep scraps of paper.
I don't know if Ross knows about this. You might have to explain.
I've seen it. I've seen it.
Okay.
Fortunately, I'm not the guest on her show, so I didn't have to stress over it. No.
I remember it in the early days when I was on your show. And she goes, I have these papers, and we're going to pick one. And then she goes, but if you don't like the question, you can pass once. Which was very nice, because I would have said, no, got to answer it.
I mean, if you want to show everybody who may be new to your show or whatever how it works, I'll be happy to play. I'll have you.
You want to play? You want to play?
Sure, why not?
Okay, all right. Okay, you guys.
I'm going to regret this in a few minutes.
No, this will be fun. So, for those of you who are watching who have never seen the Daily Q show, what I do is at the end, I end every interview with a question for the guest, and they get one pass. So these, I did not write these. So if you pass it, you can pass it for any reason that it's stupid. It won't hurt my feelings. I didn't write them. Okay. So here we go. Ross.
Yes, Jenny.
Your question, should you choose to accept it, democracy, good or bad?
Good.
Ooh.
Oh, you want me to elaborate on that?
That's it.
He did answer the question.
I'm in favor. When you think
You're
of all
in favor of democracy?
Yes, when you think of all the alternatives, I think I would like to live under what we have as opposed to other options.
And I really want to give a shout out to Dave Salma at Heroics. It was his idea for me to ask a question at the end of the show. And then I found these questions and I kind of modified his idea, but almost every time I do this, I think of him because it's so cool that he gave me that idea,
Well, I'm glad you got it in a little pencil thing now, because Ross, if you've only seen the early days of the Daily Q, where she just kind of scooped them up in her hand and said, "These are my questions."
Here, we could do an instant replay. I've got questions.
It was great.
Oh, this is too much fun. This is too much fun. I was planning on only being on for like 20 minutes to a half an hour. I'm so glad Christin and Robert and everybody stopped by. This is really, really awesome. Jenny, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being the first guest on the show. Please keep us posted at Livestream Universe on what you're working on. Everybody, let me know if you have something coming up you want to share, something special, or just a really good show. We're happy to promote it and share it with our followers. And we're going to be on every Monday night. Livestream starts 7 p.m. Eastern time. Our next two shows are going to be good ones. We have another Jenny, Coach Jenny Mustafa Julak, who is a thought leader in the blab sphere. And then 2 weeks from today, we're going to have Roberto Blake, who's awesome across social media platforms. He's not only an artist, but he's also a really brilliant business person. So I'm really excited at the people we have coming up. So I just want to say thank you again. Thank you again to Jenny, Christin, and Robert, and we'll see you next week.
Ross, I want to say thank you for inviting me and having me on as your first guest. It's an honor, really.
Thank you so much.